Hi, this is Chantel Gray, and I am here to talk to you a little bit about prehistoric art. The One of the important things for us to keep in mind is the idea of prehistoric. The really the only designator with prehistory is just that it is the part of our history that is pre-writing. There was a lot of human development that happened before writing, but we call those things prehistoric because they're before the written record, and there's a lot of things that we don't know about prehistoric items, especially art and artifacts, because we can't talk to the people and we have no written record about them. But we can still date them and sort of ponder as to what their purpose was and how people made these things and what was happening with them. So the Paleolithic period, Paleolithic meaning old stone, was about 6 million to 10,000 BCE, before Common Era. A couple of highlights from this period are the development of tools and weapons, and we see a lot of cave paintings coming from this period. Also, one of the things that we find in this prehistoric period, in this Paleolithic, probably one of the oldest figures that we have is this one known as the Venus of Willendorf. This image shows 3 different views of her. The Venus of Willendorf dates from about 28,000 to about 25,000 BCE. This little stone figurine is approximately 4 inches high, and you can see she's got very exaggerated physicality. And with that, we've had art historians with a variety of different ideas as to why these figurines exist. Other figurines with similar body types were found later. This was one of the earliest found and also the most complete. Most of the others are pretty well worn away. But they all have the same physicality. Most of them have little feet or no feet at all. They're heavy set. They have rather large breasts. They're nude, and some people wondered, were they dolls? What was their purpose? The common belief currently is that the culture at this time was very interested in fertility, both in human fertility and as in fertility with the earth, and tended to worship earth goddesses, and that this sort of figure depicts somebody who is very fertile, who is well off because she's well fed, and so yeah. But again, we don't know for sure the purpose of these Venus figurines. Lascaux. Lascaux is a cave in France, and Dave, I've given you some links for the videos for tours there. But Lascaux is a pretty fascinating place. It is a cave complex that it's estimated at about 17,000 BCE. It's a whole complex of caves, many cave paintings. You can see here the interior of Lascaux, or actually the recreation of Lascaux. Lascaux was found in France. It's one of our oldest extant cave paintings, the cave complex. They found that because people were going into Lascaux and looking at Lascaux, that Lascaux was starting to get damaged. So they actually built a complete identical replica of Lascaux, like next door to Lascaux, where people can go in and tour Lascaux, but it's actually a replica. So I'm not sure if this image was taken in Lascaux proper or the replica. They're hard to tell apart. But you can see that it's this enormous cave, and the scale there compared to the man. Lots of animals on the walls. Again, we don't know for sure what the purpose was. Was it that, these people stayed in the cave all winter and were bored? Are these images ceremonial, hoping, making wishes for a good hunt? Or are they telling the story of a good hunt? It's kind of hard to know, but these paintings are really quite exquisite, especially considering how long ago they were created. Remember, we're talking 17,000 BCE. Long time ago. Yeah, kind of a bull figure. Another, you can see an interesting layering happening with these. That there's, it looks like there's bulls, cows of some sort, maybe an elk in the background. Is that an elk or a caribou kind of animal? Horses being depicted. Pretty fascinating stuff in Lascaux. Our next period that we're going to take a look at is, so we have the Mesolithic period, which is traditional stone, 10,000 to about 8,000. At this point, we start to see people settle down a little bit more. They become a little less nomadic. We see that even more so in the Neolithic period, Neolithic meaning new stone, about 8,000 to 2,000 BCE. I don't have a lot of artwork from the Mesolithic. More of our artwork comes from the Neolithic period. We start to see villages with more permanent structures. Still more earth goddesses, various figurines. Some of the ones that we found that are pretty fascinating are from the Cycladic Islands in around Crete. And these figures date from about 3,000 to about 1,100 BCE. And they're pretty fascinating. Again, thinking back to the Venus figurine, we've got these nude figures, possibly feminine because they have breasts and lack male genitalia. But they're faceless, much like the Venus, but you can see that these figures are much slimmer, and they have a very stylized look to them with a very long neck, a flat face, a very flat body. In many ways, I really like these Cycladic works. They look like modern art to me, and in many ways, and a lot of modern art, a lot of modern sculpture is taken off of these sorts of images. In the second figure, you can see that the Cycladic figurines come in a whole variety of sizes. Pretty fascinating. Again, we don't know what they were. I mean, were they ancient dolls? Were there ceremonial figures? How were they used, etc.? We can see here that they weren't all the same stylized figurines, but you can see this figure playing some sort of a harp, perhaps, and then the family depiction, again with the flat faces. Pretty fascinating. As we move forward in time, this is pretty concurrent with the Cycladic figures. We start to see a lot of ceremonial centers and burial grounds. And that's something that was pretty fascinating back into the Lascaux era. They, it's pretty significant when we realize that people are burying their dead. That's sort of a landmark of human development. These are burial chambers. They're mounds. They have this post and lintel construction, the uprights being posts with this cross member The lentil, which is a support mechanism or a support item, very well engineered. These are made by like a whole circular section of stone. So these caves are somewhat hollow inside. You can see in this lower figure here that there's hallways, there's areas in there where these stone mounds exist. There's a lot of these stone burial mounds in the British Islands. That's where a lot of the images we have come from. But they've also found similar burial mounds in the Americas and in other areas of Europe. But it seems like the ones in the British Islands perhaps just weren't disturbed. Because it wasn't as highly populated as early as some of the European areas. Stonehenge, built on this same post and lentil construction. Stonehenge dates to about 3100 BCE. And again, it's this post and lentil construction. Is it similar to a burial mound? Perhaps. Again, we don't know for sure the purpose and intent of Stonehenge, but one of the things that we have found and can agree upon is that it seems like it's aligned for different solar dates. The solstice, both summer and winter, the light shines through these onto an item in the middle. They also seem to align with the equinox, both vernal and autumnal. And yeah, it's a pretty fascinating structure. Huge, huge stone monoliths, posts and lentils again. And there's some question as to how they were created. Then as we move on into about the 4000 to 2000 BCE in Mesopotamia, we start to see bronze work happening and more urban living, carts and wagons. And then we start to leave the prehistoric period because we have cuneiform writing, this series of lines and little X's and lines with sort of triangles on them as a form of writing. And there's whole areas that have been translated as a result of this cuneiform writing. And last, we'll take a look at this before we start to get into some more of the Mesopotamian art, I believe in the next chapter, but this is one still in this period. This is from Sumer. It's Sargon of Akkad. This is dated about 2300 BCE, and you can see that it is a figure done in bronze. Obviously, it's had some abuse at some point, but it looks to be sort of a funerary mask that was designed to, preserve his appearance after his death. And it's very intricately worked in metal. This individual, Sargon, is also known as the founder of a great army. He kind of defined warfare in a big way. He was a significant contribution to military tactics. So with that, I think I'm about out of time on this screencast. So I hope this has been helpful for you and that you've learned a little bit about prehistoric art. And have a great day.